Allahu Akbar. Hayya ala salah. Allahu Akbar.
Arise, giving all praise to Allah, the Father of the universe, cherisher and sustainer of all the boundless universes. I extend the highest of honors to his heru divine prophet, Prophet Noble Drew Ali, the founder of the Moorish Science Temple of America, Islam. I extend high honors to his forerunner, the Honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey, the founder of the Universal Negro Improvement Association, who did indeed warn and stir up the nations, Islam. I extend high honors to the first Supreme Grand Sheikh of the Moorish Science Temple of America, Brother Ranesi-El, Islam. I extend high honors to our current Supreme Grand Sheikh of the Supreme Grand Council, Brother Ranesi-El. I extend high honors to all past and present Grand Sheiks and Grand Governors of the Moorish Science Temple of America, Islam. I extend high honors to the Moorish flag, the red flag with the 5-pointed green star in the center. These 5 points represent love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. These are the 5 highest principles known to man. Islam. I extend high honors to the American flag, also known as the Stars and Stripes. This flag exists as a constant reminder that the European nations owe you the Moors with compound interest. Islam. This is also the flag of our birth. Islam Moors. Giving honors to the Noble Sheikh staff and Noble Vanguard staff who keep the peace, and giving honors to you, the Ils and Bays, for without you, there is no Moorish movement. Islam Moors. Praise Allah. How's everyone on the holy day? Praise Allah. Praise Allah. Before I begin, kind of as you were, Mo, I just want to give I just want to camelback on our brother Jalil Omar Wali Bey's demonstration, which I praise Allah for his demonstration, that was very anti-sovereign citizen, very anti that which is against the Prophet Noble Drew Ali and the holy and divine laws that he laid. The Prophet, Noble Drew Ali once said, he said, I have suffered much in the past due to misunderstanding of what the movement was dedicated to, Islam. So when people hear Moorish, right, or Moorish American, or the Moors, right, you can gauge what they've been exposed to by the response they give after that. In other words, Islam, have you heard of the Moors? Oh yeah, well, that's the ones that no driver's license, right? Yeah, you sovereign, right? That don't have nothing to do with what our prophet brought us. In fact, that thing is foreign to what our prophet brought us. Islam? You have to realize, Moors, before that became a thought, and by the way, the origin of that thought, it has nothing to do with the Asiatic nations. There was a European movement, for those taking notes, write this down, called the Christian Identity Movement, right? And this was a group of Europeans that were upset and wanted to overthrow the laws and the constitution of the said government, And a lot of the ideals, such as the 14th Amendment citizen, driving without a license, United States is a corporation, you don't need to pay taxes, all this mess that has been attributed to the Moors, which has nothing to do with us. Now people think it's us because ones that went, because they were radical in their own mind, agitating in their own mind, picked up these ideas and dragged that mess into the temple. All right? So I give honors to our brother Jalil Omar Wali Bey, but our forefathers taught us is that if our Moorish forefathers would have kept Friday, holy day, holy, we would have never saw slavery, right? Meaning that what do we do during Friday, holy day? We remind ourselves of universal law, right? So we have a reboot period once a week where we come out of the cares of the world to come to the temple to be reminded of that which we were created in, which is truth. Islam? And as Brother Acting Assistant Grand Sheikh just demonstrated, if truth is art and art is Allah, and you come out of that, right, you shouldn't change. You should be doing right now the same thing your forefathers were doing, right? But how is it that you were doing something different? There must have been a change. And if there was a change that was made, falsehood must have crept in. Islam? The Prophet Noble Drew Ali said, let me find you where I left you. Islam? So you'd have to ask right now, argument's sake, right? If the Prophet Noble Drew Ali were to walk through that door right, would he find us as a group where he left us? Islam? Praise Allah. Definitely you. You definitely where he left the Moors in 1929, all right? But many are still striving towards such realm, all right? But relative to these false ideas and these adversarial forces, for those who have your Qurans, go to chapter 1. It's the first chapter. And as y'all looking for that, I'll demonstrate the cover and I'll declare my intentions. The Holy Quran of the Moorish Science Temple of America, divinely prepared by the noble prophet Drew Ali, by the guiding of his father God Allah, the great God of the universe, to redeem man from his sinful and fallen stage of humanity back to the highest plane of life, with his father God Allah. And hold your page of chapter 1. And I just want to declare my intentions by way of page 3. Know thyself and thy father God Allah. The genealogy of Jesus with 18 years of the events, life works, and teachings in India, Europe, and Africa. These events occurred before he was 30 years of age. These secret lessons are for all those who love Jesus and desire to know about his life, works, and teachings. Dear readers, do not falsely use these lessons. They are for good, peace, and happiness for all those that love Jesus. Dear mothers, teach these lessons to your little ones that they may learn to love instead of hate. Dear fathers, by these lessons, you can set your house in order and your children will learn to love instead of hate. Islam Moors? And in the course of my demonstrating tonight, Moors, all the good that may come from me is from Allah, and anywhere where there may be error is not from Allah. I attribute that to myself. Islam Moors? All right. In chapter 1, before I go in, I like to ask from time to time, just see one's perceptions. For those who flip through different chapters in our Quran and see how it's arranged, what's different in chapter 1 as opposed to the other chapters? What difference do you notice, Islam?
It's not instruction based.
In what sense?
As far as 1, 2, 3,
Right.
4.
The instructions are not numbered. Islam? In fact, before the word time, you see what? A quotation mark. So he's drawing from an ancient record. That record is not mentioned, but he's drawing from an ancient record. We're going to show you these teachings are not new. They're indeed old. Islam, or as our brother said over here, is over 10,000 years old. Islam? All right. So if you can just go down towards, trace yourself up from the bottom, and you'll pick up the wording because it's not numbered. But it says, perfected man, just let your eye find that part, but I'll just continue to read. Perfected man must pass through all the ways of life, and so a carnal was full manifest, a nature that sprang forth from fleshy things. Without a foe, a soldier never knows his strength, and thought must be developed by the exercise of strength. And so this carnal nature soon became a foe that man must fight, right? That he might be the strength of Allah made manifest. Let everything stand still and hear. Man is the Lord of the plane of manifest, of protoplast, of mineral, of plant, of beast, but he gave up his birthrights just to gratify his lower self. But man will regain his lost estate, his heritage, but he must do it in a conflict that cannot be told in words. Yea, he must suffer trials and temptations manifold, but let him know that cherubim and seraphim that rule the stations of the sun and spirit of the mighty Allah who rule the solar stars are his protector and his God, and they will lead to victory. You know, in our Moorish American prayer, we say, Allah is my protector, my God, and my salvation by night and by day, right? Here's another variation of that, still dealing with that same Allah, but fleshed out a little bit more, or spirited out a little bit more, I should say. It says that cherubim and seraphim that rule the stations of the sun and spirit of the mighty Allah who rule the solar stars are his protector and his God, and they would lead to victory. Man will be fully saved, redeemed, and perfected by the thing he suffers on the plane of manifest and on the plane of soul. When man has conquered carnal things, his garb of flesh will then have served its purpose well, and it will be no more. Islam? So you're going to be tried. Right? The power and authority of the Moorish Science Temple of America is based upon or predicated on the great Quran of Muhammad. Islam? In that record, you'll get, it actually says, it tells you straight up. In fact, it promises you. Do you think that you will say that you have faith and not be tested? You got to be tried. You're going to let somebody close to you and you don't try them? Islam? How do you know if they're going to function properly under pressure? It says, what's that phrase y'all probably know better than I am? Something about pressure busting pipes. Pressure can either something. Oh, sister, you know what? You know what I want to tell you? Probably heard it before. She smiled. But pressure, it can either create diamonds or bust pipes. Islam? In pressurized situations, some people focus, some people fold. But how will you know unless ones have been tried? Islam Moors? So I just want to say, with all of the folly that we encounter, right, in the process of trying to uplift our people, right, when we're demonstrating about it, right, we can demonstrate about it. That's good to do, right? But we have to remember at the end of the message, embedded throughout, but especially at the end of the message, you have to leave hope, right? Because if you don't embed hope in the message, it's in our nature, because we're in these bodies, it's in our nature to latch on to the negativity of the message, right? And a lot of times our people will walk away with the negativity without the positive direction of what they're supposed to do. Have you ever noticed in Moorish Science Temple of America, anytime we have a meeting, we don't let y'all go out the door without reading the divine warning? I hereby inform all members that they must put an end to all radical and agitating speech while on their jobs, homes, or on the public street. You've heard this before, right? You should have heard it every meeting, right? But the reality of it is because we want to make sure that the spirit we send you out them doors in is a divine spirit. We ain't in here to charge you up radically, to go sacrifice you. You got a family somewhere. You got people that care about you. You know, I'll use myself. Coming up, you know, I found myself in situations where, you know, I wanted to put a period to the end of somebody's life. If you catch the inference in that, where I'm going with it. It's the holy day, so I'm trying to keep it high, right? But then, you know, in those days, in the day that I came up, you know, you fell out with somebody, you know, you fought, you know, you use these. 9 times out of 10, you end up like respecting the person and coming cool. You know what I mean? But the reality of it is that if I would have taken that person's life, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's people that care about them. Like I've later met that person's family and they were good people. You know what I'm saying? Like, man, I would have actually caused anguish in that family's existence because I was in my lower passions. Islam? You know, see, the prophet says the conditions change as the ethers change. Just because something's bad now, it ain't always gonna be bad, right? But we feel as though that thing, because of how it makes our body feel, right? How our brain is flooded with these thoughts, right? And you can't, you know, there's no reset because you're not accessing the reset. You got to breathe. And if you can't access the breath, call somebody that you trust to talk you off the ledge. Islam? Right? Y'all have heard of these police negotiators? In a tense situation, before the SWAT team blows the person's head off, they call in a negotiator, right? And the negotiator it's a science to it. You can't just talk somebody down. You got to know what you're doing because there's certain words you can't use. One of the main sets of use is a lot of negative embedded, you know, concepts. Because the person's already in a negative state. You know, don't tell them that they can't do something. You know what I'm saying? You know, because what that'll do is it'll put them in a reminder of their limitations and make them more frustrated. Islam? So the prophet gives you, Noble Drew gives you a conflict resolution manual in your Holy Quran of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Islam? Now, that being said, I want to throw something out on the floor. And before I do, I just want to announce in the charity collection, you all raised $52 tonight. Praise Allah. Islam? Praise Allah indeed. It takes finance to uplift the nation. And we're going to uplift this nation. Islam? All right. In the human body, what is the human body comprised of? Anybody? What makes up the human body? Say again? Good. What else? Good. What else? Cells. Thank you. That's where I was going. Cells. Trillions upon trillions upon trillions of cells, right? That make up the body. Now, if we were to make a parallel and look and say, okay, well, if we were talking about a nation, what will be the equivalent of the cell to a nation? Anybody? What makes up the nation? People. Let's keep going. What else? Government. What else? Laws. What else? Families. See how if we keep thinking, we'll get there. Families. And it came from a family man. Praise Allah. Family is the main one. Islam. Praise Allah. All right? So what I want to do is everybody go to the holy instructions of, pardon self, the marriage instructions. Is chapter 21. Whoever finds it in those Qurans, please shout out the page number, but it's chapter 21. Marriage instructions for man and wife from the noble prophet. 32, page 32. Because what was one of the main things that the European nations had to break up in us in order to control us? Families. Islam? How do you break up the family? Remove the man. That's a part of it. So if you remove the man, then what do you do to the sister? Because you got to do something to her too. Can't leave her in a natural state.
Break her down.
How? How do you break a woman down? How do you break one of our women? Y'all sisters strong. What are the resources though? What kind of resources? Finance is part of it. What else?
Housing.
What else? Housing. What else? Daycare. How about the knowledge of herself? Structure. Because the knowledge of yourself creates the structure. Islam. How about the children? What do you have to do to the children in order to be able to enslave them? Separate them from who? Their parents. Islam. What else? What else you doing? What do you have to do to the children in order to enslave the children?
Put them in school.
But other nations go to kindergarten and they come out all right. So what do they have? Yeah, other nations attend kindergarten and they come out all right. So what do they have that we don't have? Nationality and divine creed. Nationality and divine creed. So if you remove those two things, if I remove nationality, I'm removing the teachings and the state of mind of your forefathers, right? And if I remove the divine creed and replace it with a divine creed, religious concepts, right? So if I remove the religious concepts and replace it with something else that empowers me, right? I've just invented a slave, right? You know, and the sister said, remove the man, you know, that's your front line. Take the front line out, you know, like militarily, you have a front line and flanks and a rear flank, right? So if you remove the man, you're removing the front, you know, the front flank. Remember the frontal line. So without the frontal line, you know, people just like example, you know, the men, the front line have been taken out because people can come, foreign nations can come and just set up businesses in our community. Because there are no men to say, no, we'll see you down at planning and zoning. And see, it's bigger than like just taking it in your own hands. There's a process, there's a legal process that you utilize to keep people out of your community. You ain't got to burn nobody's store down. You don't have to do that. You see what I'm saying? I give an example. On this street, and I'll kind of encode it a little bit, but on this street, there's a church, and across from the church, there's a store. It's an adult store. Y'all get what I'm going? Right across the street from a church. That's a zoning issue. Right? Now, would that take place for those that's watching on Facebook? The affluent section, one of the affluent sections in Atlanta is called Buckhead. Now, would that take place in Buckhead? Why not? What's the process that's stopping that? People doing what? First of all, the people are what? They're organized.
Active instead of passive.
Active, right?
And not passive.
And not passive. So if they're organized and they're active in their activity, where do they go to block that?
City Hall.
Planning and zoning, City Hall, before the City Council. Islam? And with the collective will of the people, they say, no, we don't want that over here. And they have a right to say so because they're taxpayers. Islam? I think I'm going to this because we missed civics class on Wednesday. Right? But this is the reality of it. But what comprises that group? Families. Islam? So let's go through each of the gender roles, because that's one of the things they remove from us. Each role has a gender, each gender has a role assigned by nature. So they say, oh no, no, there's no gender roles. Anything you can do, I can do better. I can do anything better than you. Yes, I can. No, you can't. Yes, I can. You've heard this?
Yeah.
And this is what we living out here now. Respectfully. You know what I'm saying? So you got like sisters working construction. And she can do it. She can do it, but then what happens to her frame? Because in order to do that, the estrogen has to convert into what? Testosterone. So now she starts to do what? I'm a barber by trade. Not only do I cut sisters' hair, I'm shaving women's beards off now. I don't think y'all heard that. Thank you, sir. I'm with you, right? I'm shaving sisters' beards off. My wife can bear witness. Yeah, can you take this off for me? I got sisters. And we laughing to keep from crying, but it's really not funny. I'm saying I don't come from that era. This is strange for me, right? No. It's worse. I got sisters that got razor bumps from shaving. But why is she going through this? And I've even seen that sisters, through evolution, their shoulders are getting broader, voice is getting deeper, because now she's put in a position where, because the man ain't there, now she's doing man activity. Let's flip it. You got brothers.
Oh, yeah.
You got men growing hips. Have you seen this? Have you looked around the city lately? Breast. Islam. I'm with you though. Breast too. Islam. But see, that's eating all that chicken with the hormones and stuff. Purdue and them is shooting that stuff in, because they're going from egg to full-grown chicken in 3 weeks.
Oh, wow.
Have you seen this? It's a documentary called What the Health. And I said health. Good health, right? You've seen it? Yes. Right. Did you see the Tyson chicken? And the chicken, it was a bunch of chicken, they in that slave ship style. And they zoomed in on one of the chickens and he was breathing like he had bronchitis or asthma. He was wheezing. Islam? His body was so big that his legs couldn't even support, right? Eat this, and then it binds with your DNA, and now whatever the animal is suffering, you begin to suffer. Islam? All right? So now gender roles are confused. They're teaching this to our babies now, that there are over 70 different genders, is what they're saying. This is what you're up against. 70.
How's it 70 different genders?
See, y'all come from my same era where we just knew it was male and female, right? But then they got gender fluid and non-binary, and y'all got some research to do. Y'all got some research to do. Because they're saying it's about what you identify as. Not what you are anatomically, it's what you identify as. Islam Wars?
That's not natural.
That's propaganda.
Oh no. Lucifer, Satan, devil, dragon, and beast. Y'all thought that was just a teaching.
No.
But now this is real. We're living in it. Islam? But let's go and access our holy prophet, because he's a prophet, so he saw this day coming. So what did he have to do? He had to redefine the roles. Because this was in 1927 when he revealed this, right? You know, we were fighting for our families, keeping together back then. We had families of 15, 18, 19 children back then. You know what I'm saying? So this sounded crazy then, but it makes perfect sense now to have to define it. Islam? So, chapter 21, marriage instructions for man and wife from the noble prophet. Now this is for the sisters, right? And for the brothers, be wise when you're choosing wives. It says, give ear, fair daughter of love, to the instructions of prudence, and let the precepts of truth sink deep in thy heart. So shall the charms of thy mind add luster to the elegance of thy form, and thy beauty, like the rose it resembleth, shall retain its sweetness when its bloom is withered. So in other words, they teach you now that it's all about how you look, sister. Right? It's all about how you look. So put all your time and energy into your looks, right? But there's a thing called gravity. See, they know what that means. Y'all ain't really laughing. They get it. You're not always, praise Allah, we've been blessed with melanin. Oh, it kicked in later? Okay, good. Praise Allah, we've been gifted with melanin, so we don't age as fast as other people's, right? But the way you look at yourself when you're looking in that mirror, you'll notice the little differences of, I don't really look like I did when I was 20, right? Which is okay, because it's part of the process, right? You know, you're not supposed to despise your gray hairs. You're supposed to honor them. Yeah, because you know they're coming. If you don't have them yet, they're coming, by the way. If you didn't get the memo, if didn't nobody tell you, they're coming in strange places. I'll keep it high though, right? But the reality of it is that the world doesn't arm you for when these changes take place. So depression and anxiety, you know what I'm saying? And people are, they're injecting stuff and cutting, Now, there are medical reasons to cut stuff off, and I'm not addressing that. I'm talking cosmetically, because you view yourself in a low sense. So you feel as though you have to go to the doctor, Frankenstein, to, you see what I'm saying? And all of that stuff has side effects because Allah created you a certain way. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like example, like if I cut your ear off and put it on my ear, on my head, I wouldn't be able to hear. My ears are designed exactly for the shape of my head. Have you ever noticed that when you're looking straight, you can't see your nose? You ever notice that? Crazy, right? It's right there, but you can't see it, right? But have you ever seen sisters wear nose rings? You've seen this, right? But no, that's in our culture. That's in our culture. But it's supposed to be a certain size, because when you wear a nose ring that's too big, now what begins to happen is the subtleties of the nose ring being right there, your eye starts to attract to the size of the ring, because it's not supposed to see nothing here. In that, it's a pyramid right here. In that pyramid, you're not supposed to see that. That's why you have a certain swoop to your nose. Everything's symmetrically devised incredibly, right? So what happens, you'll notice that sisters that have those big old nose rings, after time, you'll see their eyes might start to turn and get like a little lazy eye, right? Because for years, the eye's trying to see that nose ring, right? And they have to go get LASIK and stuff like that to correct that. You see what I'm saying? So when you start messing with and tampering with things that Allah has mathematically designed, it's always payback. So the prophet of Allah comes to tell you about the instructions of prudence and the precepts of truth. He said, let them sink deep in your heart. So when these changes start to happen, these natural changes start to happen, right? You can have another, luster to your form, not just the physical aspect, but your spirit is saying, no, I'm still beautiful. And you're not waiting for the validation from nobody else to tell you that you're beautiful. Islam? Instruction 2, it says, in the spring of thy youth, in the morning of thy days, when the eyes of men gaze on thee with delight, and nature whispereth in thine ear the meaning of their looks, Hear with caution their seducing words. Guard well thy heart, nor listen to their soft persuasions. Now here's key. This is the Moorish American position on relationships. Remember, sisters, remember thou art made man's reasonable companion, not the slave of his passion. The end of thy being is not merely to gratify his loose desire, but to assist him in the toils of life, to soothe his heart with thy tenderness and recompense his care with soft endearments. Islam? Okay. Who is she that winneth the heart of man, that subdueth him to love and reigneth in his breast? Lo means to look. Lo, yonder she walketh in maiden sweetness, with innocence in her mind and modesty on cheek. Her hand seeketh employment. Her foot delighteth not in gadding abroad. Gadding abroad is gossip. You know that Wendy Williams vibe? You know what I'm talking about? Worrying about what other people doing and all this type of stuff. All right? That's not what this sister's into. And then for taking notes, next to that instruction, you can put Proverbs 31. What's Proverbs 31 describing? What kind of woman? It's the virtuous woman. That's a bad sister. Y'all read Proverbs 31?
Yeah.
How many Proverbs 31 women you seen walking around? We got some work to do, don't we? That sister's not only beautiful, she's industrious, right? She's helping her man to build the empire. Islam wars? But that's, for another study. But it says, she is clothed with neatness. She is fed with temperance. Humility and meekness are as a crown of glory encircling her head. See, another thing too is that they put y'all in a position to prove how bad y'all are by got to be loud, and that's not us. It's not us. Like men, if you just leave us to ourselves, like at the end of the meeting when you see the brothers talking, if you notice, naturally men talk louder than women. You see us in a group over here, that's what y'all right, more, I mean scary. But you'll find out later when your voice change, you'll see. You ain't there yet, your voice sound like theirs, but when puberty kick, yeah. But we naturally talk, because we warriors. Men are, on a primal level are hunter-gatherer, so we technically used to being outside and being loud and whatever, and bragging about our conquests. That's what we do. When you hear men talk, that's ultimately what we're doing. I did this, and everybody's trying to outdo, that's why the voices elevate, right? When you see sisters doing that, that's a mutation. Sisters ain't supposed to be loud. A lot of times, I'm gonna show you how you know that's true. And I'm gonna turn to the brothers on this one because I know this is what y'all do, so I know y'all know it. Have you ever been in a household situation and y'all fall into, y'all ain't agreeing, and all she gotta do is stop speaking? Have you been through that? And if you haven't been through that, as a married man, let me tell you, as my wife over there, when mama stopped talking, what's wrong? I'm good. That right there, oh my goodness, ain't nobody gonna get no sleep. Islam? So the power resides not in her being all, it's just letting peace be still. That's what gets the attention, because she's generating the ether from her spirit, right? That gets the attention of the man to say, what's wrong? It ain't her going off and being loud, because then if she's doing that, what that does is bind with the ego of the man, and it escalates and escalates, but women have naturally more words than men. Y'all have, I tell anybody, I use all my words by 7 o'clock. After 7, I don't really have much words. I don't have much. She can tell you, when I get home, I don't really want to do too much talking. Here and there, but I'm done. Especially messing with the Moors. I might be done use them all up by 3 o'clock, messing with the Moors. But a sister can wake up talking, go to sleep talking, and might talk in her sleep. That's just the beginning. She got them words. Allah gave it to her because she's I'm being facetious, but y'all are natural communicators. Why you see, if you look at any government building, who's running the city government, men or women? Women. Who's making the calls and making the connection, taking the message down the hall? And it's the women, it ain't us. Islam? So y'all have a role in the restoration of our government, right? That's missing. All right, but let's go further into the instructions. It says 8, it says, on her tongue dwelleth music. The sweetness of honey floweth from her lips. Decency is in all her words. In her answers are mildness and truth. I'm going to explain 9, but submission and obedience are the lessons of her life, and peace and happiness are her reward. Before her steps walketh prudence, and virtue attendeth at her right hand. Her eye speaketh softness and love, but discretion with a scepter sitteth on her brow. Who remembers that when you was messing up when you were little and your mama looked at you? Because if she got to tell you, she gonna knock your head off. But she should be able to look at you and shut you down.
Oh yeah, that look.
That's that sister, all right? But nowadays, that look, people don't know how to use that look no more. People go straight to knocking the kid's head off. Why they put defects in place? Because people just ain't doing right. Islam? Moving forward. 12, the tongue of the licentious is lustful. The tongue of the licentious is dumb in her presence. The awe of her virtue keepeth them silent. Real quick, I had a brother, he seen some of the Moorish sisters, turban on, fully covered. He said, man, y'all got some beautiful sisters. Oh, praise Allah. He said, man, I want a sister like that, man, but I don't even know how to walk up to her and talk to her. The tongue of the licentious is dumb, which means you're unable to speak in her presence. Your presence, sisters, should command such, you walking in such virtue, right, that you make people step up. And if they don't have the knowledge, because it takes information to ask a question. It takes a lot of information. For him to be saying, the young man, brother Marquis Smith Bay Jr., for him to be speaking and asking a question, he came here with a certain level of information. Not here, but here on this earth. Islam? So it's the same thing. So sisters, once you command that, men will have to step up, like I always say, step up or step off. All right? Moving forward, it says 13, when scandal is busy, and they even made y'all a show called Scandal. When scandal is busy and the fame of her neighbors is tossed from tongue to tongue, if charity and good nature openeth not her mouth, the finger of silence resteth on her lip. We covered that last week. Her breast is the mansion of goodness, and therefore she suspecteth no evil of others. Happy is the man that shall make her his wife. Happy the child that shall call her mother. Now here's something different. She presideth in the house, and there is peace. She commandeth with judgment and is obeyed. Men are the enforcers of what mama says in the house. That's how that works. Islam? Man's supposed to come home, look at the children. Did y'all do what your mama said? If so, all is well. If not, mama give daddy a report at the door, and then something got to change, right? But if you let daddy rule and daddy's being a tyrant to mama, there'll be no peace in the house. There's no balance. Islam? Because mother's energy is nurture, right? Men are not natural nurturers. Islam? All right? Moving forward, it says, 17, she ariseth in the morning, she considereth her affairs, and appointeth to everyone their proper business. The care of her family is her whole delight. To that alone she applieth her study. Let me just pause there. All that, praise Allah that you go and get degrees and all, that's good. But you still got to maintain your house. Who's going to watch, who's going to raise the children? Right? And if you outsource that and keep leaving them with people, they're going to become a mutation of everybody that you leave them around. Right? But they don't have their DNA, they have your DNA. And you have to explain their genes to them. Islam? And elegance and frugality is seen in her mansion. The prudence of her management is an honor to her husband. He heareth her praise with a secret delight. She informeth the minds of her children with wisdom. She fashioneth their manners from the examples of her own goodness. The words of her mouth is the law of their youth. The motion of her eye commandeth their obedience. She speaketh, and the servants fly. She pointeth, and the thing is done. For the law of love is in their hearts, and her kindness addeth wings to their feet. It's an honor for them to do it because mama said so, right? In prosperity, she is not puffed up. In adversity, she healeth the wounds of fortune with patience. The troubles of her husband are alleviated by her counsels and sweetened by her endearments. He putteth his heart in her bosom and receiveth comfort. Happy is the man that has made her his wife. Happy the child that call her mother. Islam? Going back to 9, where it says submission and obedience are the lessons of our life. From a carnal eye, that sounds bad. Until you realize that man has to be submissive and obedience to Allah. Islam? So, sisters, if you have a righteous husband, right, that's obeying universal law, and he asks you to do something, all is well, right? Example, if you out and he see a danger, he say, get behind me, we got to do this. Don't be asking why. It's his charge, because that hesitation could cause somebody to get killed, right? That's why it says in the law, wife obey thy husband. That's what it's talking about, stuff like that, right? From an honorable husband that's doing what he's supposed to be doing, as not in his own, discretion, but what Allah said do. Islam Wars? All right. Now let's move forward. Duty of a husband, because men got some marching orders too. 22 right after that. 1, take unto thyself a wife and obey the ordinance of Allah. Take unto thyself a wife and become a faithful member of society. But examine with care and fix not suddenly. On thy present choice depends thy future happiness. If much of her time is destroyed in dress and adornment, if she is enamored with her own beauty and delighteth with her own praise, if she laugheth much and talketh loud, if her foot abideth not in her father's house, meaning the Father God Allah, in her eyes with boldness rove on the faces of men, though her beauty were as the sun in the firmament of heaven, turn thy face from her charm, turn thy feet from her path, and suffer not thy soul to be ensnared by the allurements of imagination. But when thou findest sensibility of heart, joined with softness of manners and an accomplished mind, this is an intelligent sister, right? With a form agreeable to thy fancy, take her home to thy house. Let me pause there. Brothers, stop moving in with sisters. That throws off the balance of things. You're supposed to set up a house, and you're supposed to invite that sister into your house. Islam was? Okay, that's nature, and that's our ancestors' mind, period. All right? It says, take her home to thy house, for she is worthy to be thy friend, thy companion in life, the wife of thy bosom. O cherish her as the blessing sent to thee from heaven. Let the kindness of thy behavior endear thee to her heart. She is the mistress of thy house. Mistress is the feminine form of the word master, right? Treat her therefore with respect that thy servants may obey her. Oppose not her inclination without cause. She is the partner of thy cares. Make her also the companion of thy pleasures. Reprove her faults with gentleness. Exact not her obedience with rigor. Trust thy secrets in her breast. Her counsels are sincere. Thou shalt not be deceived. Be faithful to her bed, for she is the mother of thy children. When pain and sickness assault her, let thy tenderness soothe her affliction. A look from thee of pity and love shall alleviate her grief or instigate her pain, and be of more avail than 10 physicians. Consider the tenderness of her sex, meaning her gender, the delicacy of her frame, and be not severe to her weakness, but remember thine own imperfections. Islam. And that's a general law that before you go to check somebody else, remember your own imperfections. That'll change, the severity that you bring it in. Islam. And one more, and then I got some degrees I got to demonstrate. Chapter 23, holy instructions for thy children. So man got something to do. Woman got something to do. Children got something to do. Islam. All right. For children, it says, consider thou art a parent, the importance of thy trust, the being thou hast produced, it is thy duty to support. Upon thee also it dependeth whether the child, pay attention to this, Morris. Upon thee also it dependeth whether the child of thy bosom be a blessing or a curse to thyself, a useful or worthless member to the community. Prepare him early with instruction, and season his mind with the maxims of truth. Watch the bent of his inclinations, set him right in his youth, and let no evil habit gain strength with his years. So shall he rise like a cedar on the mountains. His head shall be seen above the trees of the forest. A wicked son is a reproach to his father, but he that doth right is an honor to his gray hairs. The soil is thine own. Let it not want cultivation. The seed which thou sowest, that also shalt thou reap. Now, that 12-step ladder we talked about, here it is right here. Teach him obedience, and he shall bless thee. Teach him modesty, and he shall not be ashamed. Teach him gratitude, and he shall receive benefits. Teach him charity, and he shall gain love. Teach him temperance, and he shall have health. Teach him prudence, and fortune shall attend him. Teach him justice, and he shall be honored by the world. Teach him sincerity, and his own heart shall not reproach him. Teach him diligence, and his wealth shall increase. Teach him benevolence, and his mind shall be exalted. Teach him science, and his life shall be useful. Teach him religion, and his death shall be happy. Islam Morris? So those are the instructions for the children. Islam Morris? And just as, the Prophet Noble Drali tells us that we have instructions for husband, for wife, for children, we have to impart those through symbolic rite and ritual. Islam? You see other groups around the world when it comes to milestones, in the journey of a child's life or, mother's life or whatever. They have these ceremonies. The Catholics have a christening, right? Which was not funny, but it was kind of crazy the other day. I saw on Facebook, because of COVID-19 and the restrictions, it was a particular Catholic church where the parents were over here and they were holding the baby up, and the priest was 6 feet away with a water gun and shot the baby in the face.
Oh, no.
I'm just saying this is the world you're living in. That is too far, right? So we got a degree we're going to demonstrate tonight. I don't have a water gun, so we won't be doing that. Islam? All right? So Islam, please have a seat, family. Sister Jalila. Let her work, man. She go. Islam. Islam, family.
Islam.
Praise Allah. For the longest time here in Temple 19, our sister Jalila Nia, please don't, yeah, this is on loan to us. So, yeah. Our sister Jalila Nia was the youngest member of Grand Temple 19, right there. But now, as you can see, we have a new young member here at Grand Temple number 19, and we want to honor our sister. We want to give honors to her mother and her father, firstly for doing their part to rebuild the Moorish nation, baby by baby. Thank y'all very much. They're doing their part. What's wrong with y'all? Holding our blessings back. Make some babies. Get married first, then make some babies and bring them in the temple. But praise Allah, they're raising their children in a Moorish American Muslim lifestyle. You know, and everything that we demonstrated tonight relative to family, this couple is the message that they bring, right? They're not just saying they're Moorish American, they bring their children to the temple. Islam, mother allows the instruction, further instruction of, aside from what she gives the children, all right? She allows the prophet to teach the children as well. Islam? So we give honors for that. And what I'd like to do, I'd like to demonstrate, and this young sister, Sister Salima, by the way, she got her eyes on me like, who are you supposed to be? Islam, sister? I got the best seat in the house. You can't see this look I'm looking at right here, right? Mom had to crack up. We about to issue your nationality card first, okay? So we just want to let you know that, all right? Islam, sister. Islam? Islam. Islam? Islam. Islam. Salvation, Allah, unity, the Moorish Science Temple of America, the divine constitution and bylaws. Act 7. All members must promptly attend their meetings and become a part and partial of all uplifting acts of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Members must pay their dues and keep in line with all necessities of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Then you are entitled to the name of faithful. Husband, you must support your wife and children. Wife, you must obey your husband and take care of your children and look after the duties of your household. Sons and daughters must obey father and mother and be industrious and become a part of the uplifting of fallen humanity. All Moorish Americans must keep their hearts and minds pure with love and their bodies clean with water. This divine covenant is from your holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali, through the guidance of his Father God, Allah. Islam? Islam. So what happens is, how many people have seen the movie Roots?
Islam.
Y'all saw Roots before?
Islam.
Okay. You remember the part where the father held up Kizzy? Kizzy was a baby and held her up to the sky. And what did he say? He said, behold, the only thing greater than yourself, right? Now here's the missing part to that. When you research the story out, whether the story was true or false or whatever, but when you research it out, you find that the ones that were, demonstrating that, they say they were from Gambia, which is West Africa. That's an Islamic nation. All children, when they're born in Islam, the first name that they hear in their ear is Allah. It's something called the call of prayer that's given to them, which we're going to demonstrate that tonight. The child hears Allah's name first in their ear, all right? Then after that, in their culture, they show all the world and its splendor, the universe and all that. Said, behold, the only thing greater than yourself. But the thing that's greater than all of the children is Allah. That's why we say Allahu Akbar, meaning Allah is the greatest. Islam? But with that, I'm going to demonstrate the nationality card, right? And just for clarity, I know our young sister has a very long and virtuous name, and I don't want to slop it up. So I know it's Sister Salima, Noru, Amina, Ashe, Beh. I'm a bad woman. I ain't the grand governor for nothing. All right? So this nationality card says, it has a star and crescent at the top, the handpress of unity, and the circle 7, right? Under the star and crescent, it says Islam because the star and crescent has long been an emblem of Islam. Next, we have the handpress of unity, right? Because, we have a teaching that says, when thy brother is in adversity, assist him. If thy sister is in trouble, forsake her not. All right, and we seek to demonstrate this. And we have the circle 7. The circle is the perfect symbol or emblem for man and woman, and the number 7 is a perfect number for man and woman. And under that, it says Allah. So we have here, Sister Salima, Noru, Amina, Ashebe. It says, this is your nationality card and identification for the Moorish Science Temple of America and birthrights for the Moorish Americans, etc. We honor all the divine prophets, Jesus, Muhammad, Buddha, and Confucius. May the blessings of the God of our Father Allah be upon you that carry this card. I do hereby declare that you are a Muslim under the divine laws of the Holy Quran of Mecca. Love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. By the way, she's still looking at me. And for parents, if you could just recite on her behalf, just repeat after me. I am a citizen
I am a citizen
of the USA,
of the USA.
Noble Drew Ali,
Noble Drew Ali,
the Prophet.
the Prophet.
Takbir! 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 Who's the greatest? Who's the greatest? Who's the greatest? Islam. This is our nationality and identification card for the Moorish side of America. So, at this point, we're going to demonstrate some degrees. We have the rose water. Okay, could you pull it out, please? Purify myself, because if it's okay with Mom, I'll hold the baby and do the call to prayer and all. Okay. I got my mask and everything. I put some thought into this. Islam. So in the Bible it states, it says, if do it kind of slow if you can. Yeah. Who shall ascend the mountain of Allah except he whose hands are clean? Islam, that's good. Islam. This is rose water, Morris. Islam?
Islam.
Prophet says, keep your heart and mind pure with what?
Water.
Love. And your body clean with?
Water.
Islam. So, all's well.
Water and soap.
Please use soap. Please, that's my mo right there. Please use soap. Please. And use a wash rag.
Right.
I'll deal with that later. I'm in another energy right now. But praise Allah, gratitude. Gratitude. Thank you. All right. Please, hot water. Get all them dead cells off of there. See, babies are gifts from our Father God Allah. Islam, Morris?
Islam.
And we are to treat our babies in the spirit of purity. Islam?
Islam.
We don't do a lot of carnal things around our babies. We dedicate our children to Allah. Islam?
Islam.
So everything, Morris, will you define the meaning of the word white? White means?
Purity.
Purity means?
God.
And God means?
Ruler of the land.
Islam, Morris. This is why I'm demonstrating the white. Islam? So at this point, if I may, Mother, can you slide this button? Islam, Islam. Thank you. It's okay. You can cry. Oh yes, that is her crescent pin for much later when she wears her turban. Her ancestor Jalil Aeneas. I think we have both of them, right? Okay. Islam. So as I stated, the first thing that children hear in the Islamic world is the call to prayer. Right? As soon as they come out, we're supposed to do this. If not, we can do it at the birth ceremony. Islam? So, Islam. You can let it out, okay? So I'll recite the call to prayer for pleases Allah. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Ashhadu anna Muhammadur Rasulullah. Ashhadu anna Muhammadur Rasulullah. Hayya ala al-salat. Hayya ala al-salat. Hayya ala al-falat. Hayya ala al-falat. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. La ilaha illallah. That translates into English as Allah is the greatest. Allah is the greatest. Allah is the greatest. Allah is the greatest. There is no God but Allah. Oh, I bear witness that there is no God but Allah. I bear witness that there is no God but Allah. I bear witness that Muhammad is the messenger of Allah. I bear witness that Muhammad is the messenger of Allah. Come lively to prayer. Come lively to prayer. Come lively to success. Come lively to success. Allah is the greatest. Allah is the greatest. There is no God but Allah. It's okay. It's okay. I understand. I get it. All right. Now what I'll do is I'll recite the child's name into her ear. All right? Because one of the things they took away from us was our names. Islam? We do it to reinforce it 3 times. All right? Your name is Salima, Sister Salima, Nuru, Amina, Ashebe. Your name is Sister Salima, Nuru, Amina, Ashebe. Your name His sister Salima, Noru, Amina, Ashe Bey. Allah is your creator. Noble Jurali is your prophet. Allah is your creator. Noble Jurali is your prophet. Allah is your creator. And Noble Jurali is your prophet. Islam wars? And with that, what I'll do is I'll recite the prophet's prayer to the four corners to protect our child, because it said that the evil one will come at you from your front, from your back, from your left, and from your right. So we have to protect the child in four directions. All right? So, the prophet's prayer. Allah, bind our hearts and minds back to our ancient forefathers' divine creed and principles, in thy holy name, and in the seven Elohim. Amen. Allah, bind our hearts and minds back to our ancient forefathers' divine creed and principles, in thy holy name, and in the seven Elohim. Amen. Allah, bind our hearts and minds back to our ancient forefathers' divine creed and principles, in thy holy name, and in the seven Elohim. Amen. Allah, bind our hearts and minds back to our ancient forefathers, divine creed and principles, in thy holy name, and in the seven Elohim. Amen. Praise Allah. More Islam. 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 We love you, sister, and we will protect you. Islam, and we will support your parents to make sure they have what they need to make sure that you have what you need. Islam?
Islam.
Look at that. Silence at the end. Praise Allah. Give me a round of applause. Slide my hand out of there. Good. Islam. Takbir. 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 Islam. And now you all can return back to your seats. Islam. Islam. Give them a round of applause. And y'all thought that's all we had to do. We ain't done. Remove one of these. Matter of fact, you take that one to that side. But your left. Now we have a brother who is desirous of proclaiming his nationality. Islam? 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 Islam. Islam. Praise Allah. If we can call to the floor, our brother Clarence Fukwabe. Give him a round of applause, Mose. Told y'all about that silence. Islam. Gratitude. Islam what? Islam. Islam. If I can get you to hold your feet at a 45-degree angle, stand on your square, put your right hand over your heart. Islam. I'll do a similar format. What I'll be doing is reading the Divine Constitution and Bylaws, Act 7. And what that does is it reminds you of, it charges you with the laws that you'll be held under in the Moorish Science Temple of America. You'll be responsible for all the laws, the holy and divine laws of the Prophet Noble Drew Ali, but this one right here kind of summarizes it. So you'll be, so you would understand. All right? Salvation, Allah, unity. The Moorish Science Temple of America, the Divine Constitution and Bylaws, Act 7. All members must promptly attend their meetings and become a part and parcel of all uplifting acts of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Members must pay their dues and keep in line with all necessities of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Then you are entitled to the name of faithful. Husband, you must support your wife and children. Wife, you must obey your husband and take care of your children and look after the duties of your household. Sons and daughters must obey father and mother and be industrious and become a part of uplifting a fallen humanity. All Moorish Americans must keep their hearts and minds pure with love and their bodies clean with water. This divine covenant is from your holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali, through the guidance of his father God, Allah. Islam? Islam. As I did before, keep your right hand over your heart. This is your nationality card at the top, star and crescent, hand press, circle 7. Underneath the star and crescent is the word Islam, meaning peace. Atop the hand press is the word unity, all right, because it must be a holy covenant amongst the Asiatic nations where we're bound to one another. And you have the circle 7 again. The circle is the perfect symbol for man, and the 7 is the perfect number for man. Brother Clarence Fukwabe, affectionately known as Brother Abdul Rashid. This is your nationality and identification for the Moorish Science Temple of America and birthrights for Moorish Americans, etc. We honor all of the divine prophets, Jesus, Muhammad, Buddha, and Confucius. May the blessings of the God of our Father, Allah, be upon you that carry this card. I do hereby declare that you are a Muslim under the divine laws of the Holy Quran of Mecca, love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Please raise your right hand. Please repeat after me. I'm a citizen
I'm a citizen
of the USA,
of the USA.
Noble Drew Ali,
Noble Drew Ali,
the Prophet.
the Prophet.
Takbir!
Allahu Akbar.
Takbir!
Allahu Akbar.
Takbir!
Allahu Akbar.
Welcome home to the family nation. Give our brother a round of applause. Yes, sir.
Love.
This is yours.
Thank you.
Okay, if you put that inside you. All right? And it wouldn't be right, to return the nationality card to you without returning your crown. Islam?
Islam.
They say kings wear crowns. Islam? But our forefathers, what was the title given to our ruler in Morocco?
Sultan.
Sultan. So our sultans wore crowns. Islam? This crown, the fez, you'll find on our charter, listed as figure number 1. Because one of the first things you have to have is a nationality. Right? Your nationality even governs how you see Allah. All right? So the reminder I always give the Moors is that this fez does not make you a Moor. I've seen Moors get this fez on their head and they turn into super Moor. They run around thinking they just stop the world because they got a fez on, right? But it's just a reminder of who you are. It's a symbol. Islam. And when the nations of the earth see you in this symbol, living the life accordingly, then they know that you are indeed your forefathers. All right? So it's our obligation, as Grand Governors and Grand Sheiks of the Moorish Science Temple of America, to return to the men, Moorish American men, the fez headdress. So if you could take one step forward, step off on your left foot, bow forward just slightly. Okay, and what you'll notice, you'll feel a slight squeeze going around your head. The Moorish elders taught us that, don't let your head outgrow your fez. Meaning that don't become arrogant just because you have a fez on. You're an American citizen just like other American citizens. You just happen to know that your forefathers were Moorish American. Islam?
Islam.
Please raise up. Ooh, Islam. Praise Allah more. When I'm looking at you right now, I see your forefathers. That's what I see. Islam?
Islam.
And one of the another things we have to administer is the hand press. All right? What you'll notice is the hand press, everything is straight. It represents a straight line. And that line unites divinity and matter, right? Meaning that it unites your higher self and your lower self. The Prophet Noble Drew Ali said, this is the uniting of the Holy Quran of Mecca. Islam?
Islam.
This is where unity comes from. This is the source of it. See, when I put my hand in your hand, I'm supposed to know that all is well.
Yes, sir.
Right? This is a contract. Right? This symbolizes the fact that my word is my bond. My bond is my life, and I'm willing to give my life before my word shall fail. Islam?
Islam.
And the fact that you should be there for your brother and sister in need. Islam?
Islam.
So praise Allah. Takbir!
Allahu Akbar.
Takbir!
Allahu Akbar.
Takbir!
Allahu Akbar.
Welcome home to the family nations. For a round of applause. Praise Allah. Welcome, man. Welcome. Feel free to have a seat, man. Whew. I'm tired, but it's a good tired. Islam?
Islam.
More like, you don't understand what I'm saying? Like, y'all remember when they talked about slavery and they talked about the auction block? How do you think our people looked on the auction block? Do we have our feathers and our turbans on? Well, we were arrayed in silk and satin and scary scars and tattered clothing on and stuff like that. See, when the Prophet Noble Drew Ali came back to us, he knew he had to redress us all over again. He had to address the problems, and he had to come with a form of redress to, to change the people's condition. So you had to change it from inside and out. So he starts with the holy instructions, right? To give you back your principles, your virtues, right? Your knowledge of yourself, the things of knowing what not to do, to keep yourself, all your activities within the bound of righteousness. Islam?
Islam.
So once we clean you up that way, then we can put a turban on your head. Then we put a fez on your head. Islam? Because now you have earned the crown of life, right? And the only one that receives the crown of life is he or she who endures to the end. Don't let me put a fez on your head and you in and out the temple, right? Or put a turban on your head and something don't go your way and you out the temple. Islam? That's why we wait a period of time before we put a fez on your head, right? Because we want to make sure that you have a clear understanding of the work that you're called to do, all right? You have to remember this, we're raising children in this, as you see, right? So this ain't no plaything for us, right? They said one of the reasons that, Adam and Eve went wrong was that, at a certain point, the children that they had, they claimed them as their own instead of dedicating them to the Most High. Islam? I'm gonna warn y'all about something too, is that when you raise children with this, and the children get it, the children are gonna try to change the household. Think it's a game, You're gonna say we vegan and you sneaking and eating meat and stuff? We ain't supposed to be eating that. You said we vegan. They'll call you on the law. Islam? All right? So make sure that your pains that you go through, you don't speak around that around the children. Don't poison another generation. Yeah, you can handle that maybe. You know, most of us think we can handle it, but we really can't. We act hard, but we have a heart made of flesh, not stone. Islam? All right? So let us do the things that's uplifting around our children so that way we don't poison another generation the way we were poisoned. Islam? You know? Because this, like I said, this is a very real thing. It's a generational movement. All right? So we're supposed to be setting up stuff so a generation can inherit. All right? And if we're not doing that, then we failed. Islam? All right.